everybody can hear me? I don't need a microphone? I think she called me names too. I'm not sure. Hello? Everybody hear me? Okay. All right. So good morning. Thank you for coming out. No? Okay, good morning. So how many people here have a pendant? How many people here have a pendant with them? How many people take the pendant with them all the time? I see nothing in the background. Why is the pendant important? Give me an example. Somebody tell me why the pendant is important.
The other day I saw someone fall, and I used my pendant to call for help.
Not only for you, but for people around you. Okay? You can dial 911 on a phone. How many carry their phone? You know what's quicker? The pendant. Believe it or not, while you're on campus, whether you're inside the building, whether you're outside the building, if you're in the realm of the campus, you are safer having that pendant with you. And no matter what mobility you have, whether it's the best, I trip and fall. People on staff trip and fall. It happens to everybody. You lose your footing, you go into pleasure garden, something happens, you feel like you just can't walk anymore, you want to sit down, but you maybe want somebody to come and assist you. You can press that pendant. So is everybody aware that the pendants not only work throughout the entire building inside, but they work outside? Okay? So if you weren't aware of that, the pendants, first and foremost, most of you are going to have this. Most of residential living would have this style pendant. Comes with a lanyard. You can also get, if you request it, this style, which is a watch type pendant, which will also work the same as the one that you wear around your neck, but it's more convenient if you don't want to have that around your neck. Some people have issues with setting it off by mistake if they have it up near their neck. When you're sleeping, if you have it on, things like that nature, you forget to take it off, put it by your bed. So if something occurs and it's a mistake, that's fine. And we don't care about that. We want to make sure that when you need the pendant, you have the pendant with you and you use the pendant in the case of an emergency. All right? So again, this is another style that's available. Right now, they're kind of on back order, so it's taking a little bit to get them in. Okay? The other style we use normally is that, but with the lanyard, but that one we mostly use over in personal care. So that's the style that we had ordered in for personal care. They're harder to reset. So the ones that we give most of the time for residential living, all it takes is a pen or a pencil in the back in a little hole to reset it. How many have had to reset their pendants? Okay? It's a common occurrence. It's not a big deal. If it happens, it happens. We can tell you over the phone. If you don't have the ability or you're not sure how to reset the pendant, in case it goes off by accident, just let us come and take care of it. We'll be looking into it anyway. Okay? How many people have had an emergency where they needed the pendant and they've used the pendant? We've come when you press the pendant. Well, that's good. Okay, well, again, that's a big reason, carrying that thing along with you so you have it all the time. So what do you do in case you get into the shower? When you have one of these pendants on, what do you do? Okay, you can do that. If you don't feel comfortable leaving the pendant on while you shower, hang it somewhere very close that you can get to it. But a slip and fall, I don't care what age you are, it occurs. If you fall, you cannot get up to reach that pendant. I would sooner you have the pendant on. It is important. In the past, we have had people who did not have a pendant. They've fallen, and they sat there for a while. It's a scary thing. You don't want that to occur. So the importance of having that with you at all times, we stress it. Because without that lifeline, we don't know that you need us. And in some cases, when people don't wear the pendant, they have something happen in the apartment. They're lucky if we have a friend that comes and looks on them to check with them to see if they're okay. That pendant would be a much better way. You get immediate response, okay? And if we need to, after assessing you, if something happens, we may need to call 911. And that way, we take care of you from that point. No worries if you have it on. I would worry if you don't wear it all the time. And if you don't wear it all the time, I would ask you to please put it on, wear it all the time.
I worry about, does it still work? I've been here seven years. I used it once right after I came, somebody else outside. And so I've had it ever since, but I never used it. And I'm wondering, does it still work?
So let me give you a little bit of an insight for that. Do you guys have, press it. You're all ready, right? So with the style that you have, did you press it hard enough? Do you see a red light? It still has a red light on it. Right there. Do you feel the
I
vibe?
was looking on there, but I don't think I pushed hard enough.
Yep, you didn't. Came up? Okay, so right there, we gave you a test. If, well, you push in the middle of that gray button on both of them, you're going to depress that until the light flickers, and you'll see the red light.
So she has a smaller one. Did it vibrate?
It did when I pressed it.
Okay. The smaller ones will vibrate. So I'm just going to let you hear it again, what we hear. Okay, let it go.
And you need to only press it one time.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see the red light on there. You want to make sure that that red light goes off. If it does not go off, that indicates that you haven't pressed it hard enough. Maybe your pressure is not dead center. Okay. You mean without pressing it? It means it's talking, and I'll tell you what that means, okay?
I'm just telling her it's going to go off. I'm letting them hear what I hear.
Yeah.
So it'll go off every couple of minutes if I don't acknowledge it. So Anne Marie carries one of these two and the front desk. And the healthcare won't answer.
What's that? Well, let her get, well, you know what? Yeah, go ahead. Press the button. Do you have your volume turned up on there? On your iPod? Okay. So, if the light didn't go off, you need to press it a little harder in the middle. My suggestion would be, normally your thumb has got a little bit more strength.
Whatever you did, Wayne, it worked. 'Cause I got to do it. Now we have to reset your.
Okay, so let me explain to you how these pendants work. So when you're carrying your pendant, something occurs. You fall or what have you, you need help, you need assistance immediately. You depress that pendant in the way that we were talking about. Try to see if you see the little red light flicker. It does not stay on continuously. It will flicker, it will go away. It will repeatedly come back because the system, even though it's that small little pendant, it's sending a signal that goes to a receiver. That's not my receiver. It will go to this receiver. If you look through the hallways throughout the entire campus, you will see these. We utilize this receiver that also transmits back to our computer system, which is then sent to the iPods. In nursing, they have iPads. It's sent to equipment that we monitor all the time. Now, from here, it goes to the computer. From the computer, it goes back out to all those pieces of equipment, okay? So this will actually communicate with those pendants, and what happens is the pendants have a battery. Yours obviously has worked really well and lasted a long time, and they do. But sometime or another, they will start to lose the life, and they may need to be checked. The way the system works, it's very intelligent, because your pendants, as long as they're on campus, are constantly communicating with this. And every so often, the red light you might see is that sending a signal to say, my battery is good. If your battery is low, it comes to this from that, and I get it on my computer that I check every morning when I come in. It also registers with a radio that's carried by maintenance in the hours when the staff in the wellness office is not there. So we are monitoring this 24/7. Nursing staff, not just supervisors, but more of the nursing staff now, because of pushing it to that level, they are monitoring that just like they are monitoring their bells that they get from the resident rooms in healthcare. So that way you've got coverage 24/7, okay? These have batteries also, and they'll yell at me and tell me if these batteries are starting to go dead, and let me know. If you leave campus, it knows you left campus, it doesn't track you. It only knows that it doesn't see your pendant anymore. So if you are going to be leaving, you want to leave that in your apartment, okay? And that way, we know that your pendant will not go off. If, correct. No, because when you leave campus, it shows up as missing.
But the hard part of that is when you're talking to your vehicle, crossing the parking lot or whatever. Because I wouldn't mind to go to my car.
Where it,
That's what I need.
Because people have fallen in the past going from the building to the car.
okay,
So mine is wherever I am, is
okay.
So when you, do you take it with you when you go out?
yes. And I know the thing says not to, but how do I get from my car to my car?
Oh.
No matter where you went.
Okay, well, it only works when you're in campus. Your point is good, and this is leading me to my next thing. Little bit of an intro. So you want to make sure you're protected going out to your car. So do we. What I ask you do is, if you're going to be wearing that leaving campus, you alert that to somebody possibly in the office or in nursing, depending on what hours it is. And the only reason I'm saying that is because when it is not here, we're going to come looking for you because it disappears. It could be a dead battery. I don't want to leave that go till the next day or over the weekend or anything like that. We're going to come try to find you. You have a standing appointment that you're going every so often. They know. Correct. If you're leaving to go away and for any period of time, you would put in a leave of absence and let people know at that point. If you're leaving and coming back, the likelihood is we already know that, and a lot of my staff already knows with you that you are leaving every morning. So we kind of have that. We understand it. But in most cases, what happens is people leave the campus, and it looks as if though their pendants aren't functioning. And because we want to make sure you're protected and you have the coverage, we're going to be looking for you to find out what's going on. If we need to change the batteries, it takes very little time, And we'll collect that and we'll take it and we'll not only replace the battery, but then check it when we're done to make sure the functionality is still there. Does anybody have any questions so far about that?
I might leave the campus to go golf, and go someplace else, come back and go someplace else. I might leave the campus, go 3 times a day, so,
So what hour do you usually leave?
oh, there, now it's time.
If you're going to be in and out all day, I would just request you leave a message in their office.
Every day that
Boy, you get more action than I do. It is something.
a lot of these people say, I'm going golfing, I'm going to the supermarket.
I don't know if I'll make it into, I don't know if I could keep up with him right now, to tell you the truth. In a case like that, that's something that really the staffing does know, and I'm going to be asking them, because if this thing goes off at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going to come call you and see if you're okay, all right? But normally my routine, what I do is I come in, I look at my computer, I look for the sys score in my computer, and I check it every day when I come in, faithfully. Because there can be equipment failures, and batteries are the number one thing that it occurs with. If you frequently go out, they probably already know, but I'm going to be requesting information from them before I start getting the bloodhounds out to find you. So I do ask the question first to see, and if they know that you normally go, they're probably going to tell me you probably left and you'll be back later. Because believe it or not, they know a lot more than I do. I mean, it's just, they have information. I need to get that information.
What do you think about this? If a resident is leaving and going off campus, they go get in their car, drive to the front desk, and drop off the pendant.
I don't get as many missing pendants.
I know it's crazy. I'm just trying to think of the safest thing for you.
I would say the best thing is they leave you a message in your office, because normally this stuff occurs during the week. It's an issue only because, and I got to tell you, I normally don't get these missing pendants, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why. They're communicating, but they're not communicating every second. They don't know when you leave the campus. Sometimes it takes a while for this to update, but when this searches for all those pendants that I have in a database, it'll then see. If that occurs, it's really a question. I've already had people go out by squad, and within 5 hours, it kicks up. So it doesn't make, it's supposed to be that.
I was gonna say, like, with Maryland, Cody, they don't alert us when you're missing.
And it doesn't come up, but I have had it already. Yeah. I think the main part of this is really when you go on a leave of absence, if you're away for any period of time. And it does occur that we have people who go on vacations and things. They go out with family or they go away. They're gone for more than a 24-hour period of time, and it pops up. But it does pop up periodically as well. And that's what I was saying. We can deal with that. That's not a big deal. I'm going to ask the question to see if they know where you're at. They're going to tell me they know a routine, because they know a lot of that.
I would definitely wear it while you're going out and getting in a car.
Yes,
There's a lot of accidents that
right. Go ahead.
You know, many of us just leave for maybe half hour, 45 minutes, they run down the giant.
Doesn't matter. It's fine.
So that's okay.
Okay, just so you,
There's no red light on that.
did you press it? It does the same thing as what hers does. She has a lanyard. It's when you press it that you'll see the red light, and with that style, it will also vibrate. The other pendants that most of the residents have, it doesn't vibrate. You have to see the light. Now, just so I don't want to confuse you, is the reason I said it is the setup to tell you what you should be doing. And what you should be doing is wearing it all the time. Now, she said about a 24-hour period of time, and she's correct. That's what the guidelines are supposed to be for that. But sometimes they pop up. If they do, I'm going to get a hold of them to ask them. If I see something comes up as a missing pendant, more times than not, we find out somebody might have been gone from the campus, they came back, their pendant didn't give us a signal to tell them to tell us while they were gone that the battery is running low. Then it just says missing pendant, missing device. We get that, we're going to come find you to switch it out. If I ask them if you're here or not, they can normally tell me, and if not, it doesn't matter, we're going to come look for you. If you press your pendant at night, if something occurs, this is very important also, if something occurs that you're still waiting and nobody has responded, please pick up the phone and call 0. This can occur at night sometimes, depending on the staffing and healthcare, if they could be tied up with someone. The nurse supervisors who comes over to your apartments, they're going to be there as quickly as possible. If something occurs that they do not get there, pick up the phone and dial 0 if you are able to. You can press that pendant again, and although, as Joan had said, it continues to go off on those units that we carry and monitor, it will continue to go off until it is answered and acknowledged. Okay? Jackie, what was your question? You're fine. No. Unless you want to, you can call them and talk to them. I mean, they're there, they will pick up the phone. And they won't when I call, but they will when you do. Please let them know. Yeah, and it's not an invasion of privacy. We have a lot of things that occur here that a lot of people may or may not know occurs. The pendants are one form of helping you tell us if you need us. But if something occurs that you are supposed to be at dinner in the evenings or whenever, you're supposed to be going to a function, somebody asked a question because your name was on a list, we have what we call room checks. We're going to be going to your room to find you, or we're going to be looking around to find you on campus if you're not where you said you were going to be. And again, it's not meant to be an invasion of privacy. We found that people needed assistance, and we've gone and found them in their rooms or what have you, in locations, and have been able to help people. We just want to make sure that you're safe.
From our experience, we needed help. We've gotten help faster pressing the button than calling 0.
Yes. The 0 is the backup. Calling, and a lot of times those pendants, and again, when you need the assistance, a lot of times people they don't feel safe getting out of bed. If you feel like you can't get out of bed, press the button. If you're not feeling well, being dizzy and trying to get out of bed and crawl to a phone is not a good idea. The pendants are safety's sake for you. They're monitored 24/7. But if you do press that, if something occurs, the backup would be try to get to the phone and dial 0. Okay? It's either going to go to the front desk, or after hours when they're not there, that phone call will go directly to the nursing staff. They're also monitoring the pendants. This is if you press that pendant and you hear nothing. You've waited for 10, 15 minutes and nothing. Try to get to the phone. Okay? Go ahead.
When that does a sweep of the system,
Mm-hmm.
checking all of the various pendants and what have you,
Yes.
does each item respond? In other words, occasionally I see the light flicker.
Correct.
Is that what's happening?
That's sending a signal back to this mother hen. And it's telling it that your pendant is working. And if not, this sends a signal back to my computer to tell me it's not. And again, the low battery symbol, the low battery signal will come up on those iPods. It also comes up on the radios that maintenance carries. The maintenance carries a radio that picks up exactly what they receive from anybody in residential living. Throughout the evenings when they're not there, we're carrying that radio. That's made to be a safety redundancy in case healthcare does not get the call. So they're monitoring it, and maintenance is monitoring it. During the day, they're monitoring those pendant calls. Okay? So the line of communication is always there. Anybody have any questions at all?
I have a friend who calls all the time. She tells me she calls all the time. I'm always asking her, where's your pendant? And she just doesn't seem to wear it.
Is she here today? Could you put a rack on the back of your vehicle and drive her in next time? We can only give you the safety device. We can't make you use it, but we request that you do. And you know, the reason why is we want to make sure that you're safe. Something occurs, we want to make sure that we know you need us to help you. You came here for a reason. Not only to live in your apartment, but you came here for a little bit of an umbrella, a little bit of a buffer. And that's one of those items that it's critical. Now, if you know of anybody in Heritage Village, they have a unit that goes directly to 911. But basically, you're doing the same thing. But guess where the response can be even quicker? In most cases, we can get there faster. And here, you'd be picking up the phone and dialing 911. Again, I know a lot of residents on a lot of the calls that I've been on at night. When we go in, we find out that they are not capable of getting out of the bed. So when you go to bed, make sure that's within reach. You don't necessarily have to keep it on, but make sure it's within reach that you don't have to get out of bed in case something occurs. And more times than not, I've gotten up in the morning or not gotten up in the morning, and I felt fine when I went to bed. Something happens and I can't even get out of bed. If I had that, I would be looking to get it as close as possible. Anybody have any questions? Sure.
People come, like, at the end of July, 2 years, but when somebody comes, all of this, like your presentation, that would be good to have right in the beginning. Because I didn't realize, like, right in the beginning, a lot of this stuff, you know, I thought I had to wear it all the time, I didn't know it was just in this vicinity. Obviously, Elsie was here forever, she thought she had to wear it all the time, even when she's going other places. You know, it should all be explained clearly to the new people coming in. And as far as people coming to the door saying their maintenance, a lot of guys, we don't even know who these people are sometimes, you know, and maybe their name isn't right here to see, you know. So we should meet all these people. We should know when so-and-so comes to my door and says, hi, I'm here to check your toilet or your shower. Well, who are you?
Well, first of all, if they don't have a badge on, if they don't have it on and you can't see it, you don't have to let them in. And you can call to the front desk right away, and then they'll get a hold of us, or get a hold of me, whoever is on duty at the time. Because they should have their name on. Yes. I think the majority of this stuff is explained, but here's the problem. Even for okay. Again, that's this. Oh, yeah. Well, and this is the beginning of that. Because the questions are being raised. And here's the thing. If something is broke, and I don't know it, I can't fix it. This is something where I believe people are starting to ask more and more questions. And usually we have the answer. If we don't have it, we'll find it. I mean, pretty much that's what it is. So your questions about this and making it more frequent, it will start to occur more frequently. Just since I've been here 4.5 years. We're starting also with fire training. We had a good turnout for the fire training, but we didn't have nearly enough. I was really disappointed. And some people who have been here for a very long time will look at me and say, well, what do you do if a fire alarm goes off? Well, I know what I have to do. I train it all the time. My problem is I really need you to know what your responsibility is, because you do have a responsibility. And that would be to respond to those. We have trainings now. Matt and I did a training, a few months ago that we did. And we did get a pretty good response from it. But we need more. And you need to bring people with you and tell you the importance of it. You know the importance of wearing that. She said I have to wear that wherever I go. she's right in a way, but when you go off campus and you're away from this, it's not going to respond to a call. So you would have to know that that will not respond once you leave our campus. Do you understand that? No. No. So,
A lot of off-campus things with church people or whatever else.
right.
You know, that it's not
Elsie. Yes. I don't like the point. Your pendant works while you're on campus. Once you leave the campus here,
I understood it worked outside the campus,
it's a misunderstanding.
only on the ground.
Yes.
Church, and I'm there, it doesn't work that way.
No, this is not a life alert system. So it only responds where this can see you. Now, if you noticed, and I said this in the beginning, that this coverage goes throughout our whole campus. So somebody went to the pleasure garden, not the pleasure garden, the resident gardens, and they hit the button for a pendant call. Now, they didn't really need it at first, but then they did. They hit it again, and it came up where this saw it first. And it came up as being at the building. But it was in a location that we understood it could have been outside. So these are earmarked and come across my computer with a location. There is one of these that's hanging right outside of the resident garden, and it's on a light pole. It's normally the light poles outside where you're going to see this. In the pleasure garden near the top of the campus, these are right at the side of the railing because there's no big light pole there. So they're put out throughout the campus. This is also at the gazebo. There's one there. When you press your pendant and you're within that area, it's whichever one of these sees it that will come across on their iPad, on their iPod or their iPads. And that will alert us to tell us the location in general where you're at. Okay? Any questions on that?
One night I rolled over on mine, and someone came to my room to check on me.
Yes.
I was in bed,
Yes.
I rolled over on it,
Yes.
and they came to my room to check on me.
And you know what? It's okay.
There was nothing wrong with me, I just rolled over it accidentally.
And it happens when some people go to play cards. It happens to some people. Just recently, I'll give you an example of this. A resident from personal care, because they also wear these the same way in personal care. A resident left Morningstar with their family. This just occurred last Saturday. After I left here, a resident pressed the pendant. It was a mistaken press. They were walking outside the campus, right along the edge, and the pendant press went off at the Townstones. It was an all-out search because the first staff member that went out couldn't find the person they were looking for where the pendant was pressed. And yes, because it came off at your address. So there's one of these that located that pendant press outside at her apartment. So we went looking. And then we had more people go looking. When I received the phone call, we had a lot more people go looking. And it's okay. It was a mistaken press. We found the person. We did what we needed to do. We knew they were safe. Our job was done. So they were good. No hard feelings. That's our job. We're going to come look for you. Okay? But anywhere on campus, you're going to see these. You don't have to stand right underneath. They have a range. It'll pick you up. But something will go on one of these when you press your pendant outside even, and it'll pick it up. Okay?
I go away, I didn't even back. I was thinking of something else and I don't put it over. So is there a problem with that?
No.
I'd rather just keep mine on all
you left the campus.
But I know that it's not working off the campus.
Uh-huh. So when you left the campus,
Yeah, I always have.
and even if you signed out and you're going away for a few days, it occurs. But what happens is that alert that we get, missing device, the minute you come back onto campus, as long as the battery is good on that unit, this sees you and it goes, oh, they came back, and it disappears. But what we've tried to do for quite a while now is make sure that if you are away, whether you went out for the ambulance or whether, you just left and you forgot to say something, you forgot that it was on or whatever, if you didn't sign out, when you come back, that should be picked up. And then also, if you come back, a lot of times they're checking on you to make sure that pendant is working. If I call and say it's not working, and they say, oh, they're back now, we'll go get your pendant and we'll fix it. We'll put a new battery in, make sure it's working. It's easy. Okay? One of the main things I want to have you take away from this is to make sure if you are going to be gone for a long period of time, just let them know. That's communication for us to know that you're not here.
So if you fill out the away form, you still have to call them?
No, if you're filling out the form, that's all they need. Yeah, that's justification to tell them, that's communicating you're going to be away for a while so they know. Now, if you do not come back when you say you're going to come back and we don't see you, we're going to go look for you. And that's not a big deal either because we're just making sure. If you said you're coming back on Saturday and on Sunday I see that pendant is still missing, we're going to come visit. I hope that's all right.
You can also call the front desk and tell them it's going to be away, that's the same way.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's easy. And a phone call is the easiest thing if you do forget or not, if you don't have the time. What if you have to leave right away and it's an emergency, but you have to go somewhere for days? Pick up the phone, call them up front. If you let them know, they'll let them know. And then when I look at the system and see you're missing, they'll let me know.
You said with the pendants, all you need is a sharp point.
It depends on which one you have.
Is there any way that if I did this on the watch, if I call it a watch, by mistake,
A magnet.
just a magnet?
Yes. What we have is, Joan, do you have that magnet? Or do you, on the back? So a lot of the nursing staff, right there,
And just wave it along the back of it?
until you see a small blue light.
And you'll feel it vibrate.
Yeah. And it has a red.
But listen,
Okay, don't press it anymore.
can you hear
Can you hear the tone?
So keep it on, you don't have to take it off. So she has a wristwatch. So I got the alarm, it says active alarm, I open it, it's Marilyn Cody, press near Courts Hall. So that's where we kind of start our relationship. So I acknowledge it, and that lets everybody else know that I'm gonna handle this call. And then I go
Again, it's an,
Everybody on the campus that has that. Well, I checked the next morning, said, are you okay?
yeah,
He says, well, your pendant went off. I said,
yeah,
he says, everybody heard that.
right.
Can't get away with anything.
And,
We know that all parents would.
and here's the other thing, and that's a part that I wasn't, not that I really have to go through it with you, but the other part of this is this computer system will continue to document these presses. Now, the main thing that we use it for is for healthcare, because if we're monitoring that things are occurring repeatedly, what should be done is that they're going to notate, as Joan said, what occurred. It gives us a way of kind of tracking if there's an issue. Now, what I can tell you in the past we've found with residential living is pendants sometimes will malfunction. And times it may not reset. And if there's an occurrence that you can't reset it with ease after a few times, they're going to say, that's been going off, it's been happening. I can run a report and I can say, oh, 5 times in 2 months it's went off. It wasn't a mistaken thing. I didn't even have it on at the time, a lot of people will say, which I react to that and say, you should. But if it occurs, we're going to pull that pendant and check it. I can take it to my office, and in front of my computer, I can make it do what it's supposed to do and make sure it is doing what it's supposed to do. And if not, I'm going to replace it with a new one and get rid of the old one. Okay? So it's a good way of giving us a tracking mechanism to see if there are recurring issues before you need it, you press it, and it doesn't work. So we have that ability too. It is a good system.
I was surprised when Joyce said she's been in 7 years. How bad is replacement, we've only been here, what, 2 years?
Yeah.
So the sats are where, and probably just sort of died.
And I will get a notice. Marilyn Cody, low battery.
Correct.
I send a request to maintenance, and that's how they know.
So your battery probably was made overseas or wherever we get them from, and it was a Friday, and a gentleman who was working on your battery wanted to leave early. All I can tell you is not everything comes out the way you think it should, and equipment fails, and that monitoring system is part of it. Oh, yeah. I've already had batteries replaced in a Pendant, and less than a week later, somebody goes, I just had that done. And I'm going to tell you again what we're going to do. First of all, I record that myself in a record, but it is in the record. And I can go back right away and say, yes, it did. It just did get replaced. I had a low battery signal, and it's occurred 3 times now. And that's what I say. We're going to get that pendant, bring it down to my office or look at it, and do what we have to do to make sure it's functioning. If it's not functioning, we're going to get rid of it and give you a new one. So that kind of thing. If you've been here 7 years with that same pendant, you're really lucky. That battery it's lasted. But if it does not last and it eventually loses what it's got, its life, we're going to see it, we're going to replace it. And check it to make sure it's working. Okay? Anybody have any questions?
We all press our buttons at the same time.
They're going to run, and not towards you. Yeah.
That's my time to go home.
Yes. And the lights will be turned off, and you'll hear screeching tires in the parking lot.
Peace out.
I hear from residents, do you have your pendant on? And they'll say, no, I'm careful. So was the woman who was in the shower and fell and laid there for 7 hours with water running on her. So was the woman at night, I do her medications for her, and I went to the door and I saw her newspaper. That was my first clue. That newspaper was never there. She laid on the floor overnight. And we're talking broken hips. Things happen. I was on my couch the other day. I'm going to dust up there. And I went to get off, and I'm like, oh, it happens. You know, and it's nothing to be ashamed of that you wear a pendant. You know, laying on the floor, you don't realize. Your muscles start to break down over a couple hours. And then you're in the hospital.
You know, use the restroom.
Somebody sitting on their bed, you know, and they just fall to the floor. They can't get up, and their pendant's on the other nightstand. I had a woman last week, 4 hours it took her to crawl from her bedroom to the living room to pull down a phone to call, because she didn't have her pendant on. I could sit here and tell you story after story, and they're all true, and some of them did not have good outcomes because they laid there.
I didn't have a pendant and fell getting out of bed one morning.
My drawer, it's on my nightstand, it's in my jewelry box.
I was in my 40s. I didn't have a pendant, and I got out of bed and I fell, and I bumped my dresser, and it was enough that it started to hemorrhage. By the time somebody got to me, and I laid on the floor in agony, and I couldn't do anything, and my phones were not in my bedroom. They were out in the living room. I drugged myself out there, finally got a hold of 911, and I was bleeding internally. I didn't even realize how bad that was. I bumped the dresser, but in a way that I tore something, and it started bleeding, and it swelled. And I'll tell you, with the pain, I didn't know how long I was going to last there because I was in immense pain. And as the swelling occurred and the bleeding, everything is given here for a reason, as she said. She's dealt with it more than I've dealt with it. And it is something that is so important that you have them. And not only for you, tell the rest of your friends, tell the people you're talking to. You don't see the pendant on them, ask them where it is. Maybe we can get people embarrassed enough that they should be wearing that piece.
And
You
don't
know?
be afraid if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And
Right.
it fell. I don't want to push it. I had that happen. The person didn't want to hit their call pendant until 8 o'clock and our office opened. Don't wait. It's staffed 24 hours a day. That's what we're here for. We'd rather answer, you know, I'm baking, I must have bumped it, than have somebody on the floor, you know, use them.
I was one of those people that was just like, oh, it's out there in the living room, you know, and now I'm like, oh my God.
You're not hearing the behind the scenes things. We can't talk about that all the time. But the thing is, it is there. It's a safety precaution for you. And I agree. When
It's a service that you're also paying for. You know, that was probably one of the reasons why you moved to a community in such a great small square for the safety umbrella. It's important.
So now, just like there, Jackie pressed her pendant, it went off, and it comes up in a general location. So again, this is what picks it up. They're in the building, they're outside of the building, they're all over campus. And just again, we'll say that once you leave campus, it does not cover you outside of here. Okay? Does anybody have any questions at all? Or if you want to actually just do a quick pendant check, and she'll do that and reset it. Not all at once. Does anybody else have any questions?
If you take a walk like around the building, down the road, underneath, the star.
Yes.
Elsie, are you testing me?
You're on our campus yet. This is going to pick up a pendant. What's that?
How far down does this campus?
Take care, Wayne.
Thank you.
How far is the campus?
Yeah. How far does the campus go down?
Well, all of the pleasure garden, all of the buildings, all the parking areas, to the extent of outside of that.
Like where the house is. You know, like when you take the bus to the Giant, you know.
Yes.
You go down that way. When you come to the houses, that's where it ends.
That's the outskirts of our campus, yes. Yeah. That one I'm not sure of, to tell you the truth. Joan, do you know?
I don't know, that's a good question. I doubt it.
Now, I'm going to say where, over in that section, I think the last one of these that is mounted is at the light right at the garden. So that would be the extent of it. Well, let's put it this way. If you, and I'll do this just to check, and I'll let them know, it should probably pick up close to that, to the guest house. Maybe not inside, but it may pick up pretty close. They have a pretty good range on them. Again, they weren't in her apartment, but she got a call because it came up as location outside of the apartment. And that would have probably just been walking up the sidewalk from the entrance area and walking around. It's probably where they went.
And it works down in our garage and basement, whereas Wi-Fi doesn't work down there, but that did.
Yes, because that's it's like a booster. Oh, and the other thing is too, some people have asked me before about this equipment. What happens if there's a power failure? This is important to know too. Every single last one of these is plugged into our emergency service. So the minute that the power would go out in any of the buildings, anywhere on campus, we have electric backup by our generators. If our generators don't go on, these wouldn't function, but I would be having a buzzing in my ear because they do go on. And they react within literally 2 seconds to 4 seconds of time that they come on when the power goes off. And these are covered by the emergency system. They'll always work. Okay? The reason why we're here is because the majority do not wear them. That's why we're trying to get this out. It's important.
And there's also been an increased number of falls.
I think you need to come to the dining room where you were crowded and make a general announcement, how many have your pendants on?
Say, I was saying,
Oh, tonight is so-and-so and entertainment, 7 o'clock. Well, you know what, like, it's thank you for coming. And we hope you will pass the word, like, you should have come to that today. That was very, informative. You should really wear your pendant from what we heard today. You know?
So how many of you think that this was worthwhile? How many of you know things now that you didn't know before?
I didn't know that it didn't work outside.
Elsie, does your pendant work outside of the campus?
No, I thought it did.
And now you know. Now, I will tell you, the same way when we have like a buildings and grounds meeting, don't wait to ask the question for a month till you have a meeting or a gathering. They're there every day. You can always pick up the phone and call the front desk and just ask a question, and they'll revert you to where you need to go to get an answer. It's the same way with work orders. Don't wait till you have 5 lights out in your apartment, that it is darker than I would want to be in there in doing. Don't wait, especially when you have it's a safety issue. If your shower light goes off, and that's one of the main lights you use, and the older I get, the more I need my lighting. So I'm brightening the lights in my home every year, and to the point where it's going to glow when I get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. But I want to be safe, and I want you to be safe, and it's the things you want to do. Pick up the phone and ask the question. Don't leave it go. Also tell your fellow residents the same things. Don't wait.
This is not about, you talk about the generator.
Yes.
When the generators go off, what do they cover? Like, we have medical equipment in our room that we're using.
Each outlet throughout the campus is marked with a red cover and a red outlet. That would be the emergency system. And a lot of our equipment is covered by that. If you have equipment in that room, first and foremost, whatever it is, they should know. And they also put out a listing of that maintenance knows. So in case of a power failure in your area, we have an updated list and we would know where to go to help you. And that's important. So O2 concentrators, any of that stuff, how many people let them know? If they don't, or someone who has this equipment has gotten it from outside and nobody knows it here, we have to know that. In other words, we can help you, but we can't help you if we don't know. So that communication is important.
I have actually moved people in their apartments to repair when we had hurricane or tornado years ago, and we went by our oxygen list, and we knew the power was gonna be out, and they definitely needed the oxygen. That's why everybody keeps extra tanks in their room. But we actually had to move people, personal care, because they had the electric over there, the generator.
And I do know there are people who have had equipment brought in that they were not told, because I found it and I had them go and communicate it to them. So again, sometimes you're not giving that communication, but we can't help if we don't know. So I have another question, because I think we're pretty much done here. Somebody else here had a question, I believe. No? Yes? You remember? No, and that's what you were told when I saw you, I know that, and I know Dawn told you that too. It really is, it's not a bother, it's something that you came here for a little bit of an extra hand. Let us do that. So it is important. You're now the spokesperson, just so you know. So the other question I'm going to ask you is, at leaving out of this meeting, sorry, my throat, I got to bed at like 2 o'clock last night, so my throat's gone. Other topics of things that you question, that you don't feel informed on, can you think about it and maybe get some of that information back to the office so we can communicate with each other and figure out what we're missing, if anything, or maybe you just don't know about it. But if there's questions like that, maybe we can help that. These meetings like this, including the fire training and everything else, are very important, because sometimes you think you know exactly how it is, but you may not. If you inform other people, but you're not really informed yourself, that may be a hindrance, okay? But the more information you have, I would hope, the better and more comfortable you feel being here, because it's your home, we're just here to help. Yeah. You can also see the importance just by the way Joan talks about it. This is something that is, for us, it's scary. If we aren't able to help you, that's scary. Right. Exactly. The wellness office. Well, correct. Yeah. And when you have work orders, you can pick up the phone and call Pat if you don't know how to use the app. I'm also on the listing of that too. So we have the resources you need to question and you need to ask. Again, I would ask you anything that you think is something that we maybe have to bring up as a topic and have meetings on. I would appreciate if you would communicate that to us. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. All right. Have a great day. I'm going camping.